Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the October 6th, 2023 edition of News from the Front Lines of Business. I'm David Huff, CPA with DW Huff Consulting. Here bringing you with our news from the front lines of business. So we're trying to help our businesses here build, grow, and enjoy their wealth. And as such, we made it through another week and got a few things to go over with everybody. First up, we had one interesting, before we get into that, some deadline updates. So we kind of put this on the back burner, but the October 16th deadline for individuals got a little bit of a reprieve due to the saltwater intrusion. So for the Louisiana guys, it's going to be pushed back to February 15th, but only for 4 parishes actually. So it's not related to the full state of Louisiana, but there will be some relief there for some people for making payments that were coming up. They're doing filings that were coming up, so the payments still needed to be in. So anyway, not much going on the deadline front or the IRS news front really. It's been kind of a quiet week on that area. So we'll just kind of go into some things that have come up that will be useful to you. All right. So the first thing, watching all my social media stuff here. TikTok's always funny and using. Recently, a strategy came up by a guy. I don't want to mention the name, but anyway, he debunks a bunch of strategies. And this one TikToker was talking about the benefits of having a private jet. So, if you are having some success in business and you're flying around a lot, he tossed this idea out here. And I verified it with a local pilot that's also a client of mine to kind of see the plausibility of this. And turns out that there could be some benefits to jet ownership. So as we look at it here, here's just an article, some key points that I kind of jotted down here. Anywhere between $2 million and $100 million is what that's going to cost you. And you got a lot of costs going into it, and that's obviously a deterrent because operating these things is about $10,000 an hour, and that's basically about right. My pilot friend mentioned the pilots could be anywhere between $1,000 and $2,500 for a day, and the fuel is kind of pricey and some other maintenance costs. So that's about right. So, however, it's not uncommon to lease these things out and recognize enough money so that you are bringing in $50,000 to $70,000 a month. If you own it and you lease it to others who want to use it on a short-term basis, it's not uncommon for you to generate that kind of money. All right, so that's the nitty-gritty of it. But on the plus side, you get an accelerated depreciation deduction for putting that jet in service. So if you got the wherewithal to do it, you finance the thing. So how many $1 million it is, there are some limitations there, but in general, you are going to get a very high current year deduction for that depreciation expense. That's going to help you out your taxes. You're going to have this asset here generating money for you. That's should be positive cash flow. If you structure the deal right with the loan amount and everything, it takes a little bit of work, but you now have access to a jet. A couple times a month you should be able to use it, for flying around and running out the rest of the time, and probably end up with a little excess cash when it's all said and done, and without much of a tax problem. So, so I guess that idea is a definite possibility for the people that are in a higher earning scenario, and at least my friend who talked about some of the other positive amounts of things of having a jet. It's just a lack of a hassle factor. When you're flying that way, TSA and getting a cab to the gate of there, all those things kind of go out the window because you drive right up to the spot where you need to be to take off. They bring you right where you're going without a lot of hassle. So I don't know. I think it's probably not realistic for most people, but you can make some money. So and there also is some possibilities out there for partial ownership, so you can basically some of these jet companies, there's operating companies who don't really want to own jets and vice versa, but there is a way for still, I would not say insubstantial amounts of money, but you can fractionally own a private jet, and if you're traveling a lot, it could be worth it. So now keep that in the back of your mind. I know I can't do it right now, but it's definitely worth knowing it. That's a possibility. All right. Something that came up today as we were talking about some planning issues with a client here. And this pertains to credit scores, credit lines, and how you can utilize that to help your own business with liquidity as well as personal liquidity. So what I'm getting at there is you see a lot of financial planners, mention holding a certain amount of money in reserves for an emergency, right? So they might say 2 months, 6 months, some number like that. And I would offer this suggestion to you that instead of holding it in cash, hold it in available credit. So if you already have a couple credit cards, I guess I'm gonna give you some recommendations a little bit later, but increase the credit line, your dollar amount that's available to draw down as high as you can, because when you have a higher amount available, that utilization percentage is lower, so that helps your credit score, which helps the availability to possibly get some of those 0% promotional deals for your business possibly, as well as help yourself out in a jam. So having a high credit limit is going to be helpful, and we've got to manage it obviously, so we don't want to run up balance on things, but going with a higher limit than you think you're really going to need doesn't have much of a credit score impact. So just once you already got the cards in place, you just do the things that it takes to increase the limit. So in order to do that, so here's my recommendation here: is that you figure out what your emergency fund amount is that you might need to live for 6 months, and try to get that amount available in available credit, right? And don't just do it on one card, because there are reasons why in the credit scoring model, as well as the models that banks use to determine your credit limit, that it's probably not as widely known, but there's reasons why you want to have multiple cards, but the total total amount available should be an amount that's going to be taking the place of your emergency fund by a good bit. But then when you spread the expenditures out, so now obviously you don't want to get the cards and never spend them and have the credit card companies close your accounts on you. So you want to use them and pay them off. But by having different due dates, what I'm finding is that you can just put some insurance payments on there, some subscriptions, go out to eat and pay it off right away. So like always, my general rule with credit cards is never put anything on a card that you can't pay for at least 2 times. So run it up, run it back high, so you're showing a high utilization, that you're using the card, high activity, pay it off, keep the balances low, and that's going to make you look good to the banks, for not only for purposes of issuing you other cards, cards with 0% and really lucrative reward programs, but also so not happy to also increasing your credit lines when they see that you're using and paying off, all those things become available to you. So if ever you find yourself in a jam or in a need for some capital for your business, that personal credit score is key to making anything work right. So once you've been doing that for a while and you're looking really good to the banks, now your business can utilize some of that stuff. And like I said before, there are plenty of those introductory 0%, 12 months, 0%, 18-month cards out there. And when your score is high, when you need to tap into those kind of things, it's easily available when you have your kind of ducks in a row and you just do things before you need to do them as far as the credit line increases go. So keep those credit lines increased. So don't obviously pay things off, but request credit line increases whenever you're eligible, even if you don't think you're going to need them for a while. So better to have it and not need it than be scrambling trying to get funding when your credit cards are maxed out, because that never works out very well. So keep that in mind. All right, so asset allocation. So we do obviously we're always talking about the taxes, but in addition to that, a lot of times we do tend to venture off into the investment stuff. And a discussion came up here, looking at the balanced portfolio. So with the balanced portfolio, that's a mixture of 60% stock, 40% bonds. So that's my Fidelity Balance is the mutual fund I chose here as a proxy. I also threw in the iShares Select Dividend ETF, and that's one we use a lot just as a means of comparison. And we compared that against 100% stock portfolio, which would be the Vanguard 500 index, right? So just to kind of see how it looked over this, we chose a 20-year period here, so went back to 2002. And we look at this strictly from a do we need bonds for purposes of generating income and protecting our portfolio? So a 2-point question there. So when I look at how things kind of shook out, we see our average annual balances at the end of this term here, and no big surprise, the full stock index had a little bit higher return, but when we're talking about a portfolio of somebody who is going to be drawing income off of it, that's not necessarily the best thing to do, because we like to have dividends, we like to have interest in bonds so that you can pull that stuff out of the portfolio to live on without liquidating the actual asset itself. So there's reasons why we like the balance fund, because the balance has bonds, has dividend payers in there, as opposed to the Vanguard 500 index, which is it's a little bit of a mixture of growth and income stocks and no bonds whatsoever. So when we look at the how things kind of shook out over this time period here, honestly, they all seem to move pretty much in lockstep. So that extra diversification for the bonds, I don't know, it limited the volatility somewhat. In the down years, you can see here that it seems to have lost a little bit less in most of them, made a little bit less in the good years, but all in all, it's not very interesting to me. However, when we look at the income side of things, that's where having this mixture of stocks and bonds seems to really show its strength. So that blue line you see there, that's the income these portfolios generated. So 100% stock dividend portfolio is kind of in the middle there. Naturally, our Vanguard 500 index, which is this brownish color here, is going to be lower because it has a lot of growth stocks mixed in it. It would never be thrown off current year income. But our balanced fund, which is the blue, since it has interest payments and has a lot of dividend-focused stocks in there, did a better job of providing income to our theoretical retiree here. So I guess you still need bonds. And we look at the slide a minute ago with the portfolio value. To me, it didn't seem that exciting, but when you look at the ability to pull money out of your portfolio without wrecking the portfolio, it would seem that the balanced fund definitely seems to win out in that comparison. So, all right, so that's all I feel like talking about this week. Closing thoughts. So we looked at our daily Stoic today, and I guess this message here is about always moving forward and accepting your shortcomings. So Marcus Aurelius, as they going back and reviewing this, some excerpt here from Meditations. We note that he definitely seems to have felt about himself that he wasn't perfect. He had some temptations and he had a temper and he kind of did stuff that he regretted at times. But when it came down to it, the closing thought here is that you pick yourself back up when you fail and take that step forward. So that's my thought there. Keep moving forward, get a little better every day, read, learn, whatever that's worth. That's my thought for today. So we are done for this week. We hope everybody enjoys festival season. Just as a note here, in St. Bernard Parish, we have the Blues, Brews, and Barbecue Festival, a fundraiser for an organization that I proudly support and serve on their board of directors. But the weather's going to be perfect for that, as well as just being outside and watching football and everything else that we do in the fall. So we'll see you out here next week.
Yeah.